One of the first popular cases of the black-eyed kids happened to a man named Brian Bethel in 1996. While Brian was sitting in his car, going through his paperwork, he heard a knock on his car window. And when he looked up, he saw two kids, probably about 12 years of age. And these kids asked Brian if he could take them to the movie theater. Now Brian most likely would have helped these kids, but he noticed that these children had no white in their eyes. They were just all black, and they were just staring at him with no emotion whatsoever. So Brian was really freaked out by this, so he drove off as fast as he could, as he felt that there was something just not right about these kids. And after this sighting, a lot more people have come forward throughout the years, stating that they too had come face to face with these black-eyed children. And in most of these cases, they always ask for something, such as a ride or to come into your home. And many believe that if you say yes, and you let them into your house or your car, you will die. Now there are very few reports out there from people who have actually agreed to let these black-eyed kids into their house. One such case happened to a woman not that long ago, and this woman claims that during a blizzard and very late at night, she heard someone knocking on her door. So she figured that someone must be having some car trouble or some sort of emergency. But when she looked outside, all she could see was footprints leading to her house. So this woman was a little scared, and she woke up her husband. And when they opened the door, they were both very surprised to see two small children just standing there. So the couple let them inside, as it was very late and very cold. And the first thing this couple noticed was that their cat was very afraid of these kids, as it hissed at them as they walked by, and then it just ran away, which was very unusual for their cat. Now the couple was very concerned, and when they asked these children what was wrong, they just replied that their parents would be here shortly. So the couple said okay, and the woman went to go make them some hot chocolate. And when she handed them the hot chocolate, she saw their eyes, and their eyes were completely black. And she later stated that this was the most scary and disturbing thing that she had ever seen in her life. But at the time, she tried not to show it. Then all of a sudden the power went out, and these kids just sat there with no emotion. Now usually young kids would be extremely scared being in complete darkness within a stranger's home, but not these kids. Then a couple of minutes later, the woman's husband's nose started to bleed really bad. And then the kids said that their parents were here, and they just got up and slowly walked outside. So the couple went to the window, and they saw that these kids had entered into a black car, and shortly after it drove off. Now there was no knock on the door, no phone call, or anything. So how did these children know that their parents, or whoever they were, had arrived? And the couple said that this was the most creepiest night of their lives. And about a month or so later, the husband was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of skin cancer, and the woman also started to get very sick, and she believes that these kids are the ones to blame. Now since this only happened in January of 2016, I believe that they're still alive, but it looks like things are not going their way. So they wanted the world to know that these black-eyed kids are very real, and if you ever come face to face with them, do not let them inside your house. Then in 1974, in France, two men were driving in a remote village when they saw that a group of kids were trying to wave them down. And the first thing that these men noticed is that these kids looked really strange, and they were all wearing very odd clothing. And when these kids approached the car, the men saw that every single one of these children possessed solid black eyes. And the men were so scared by this that they just took off. They didn't even talk to them. And a couple of hours later, they returned to this location with more people, hoping that they could find these kids again, so they could prove to their friends that these kids actually did exist. But thankfully for them, they were gone, and after hours of searching, they gave up and returned home. But these two men never forgot the fear that they felt on that day. Another very creepy encounter happened to a man named Jim Stills. Now Jim is a man who loves his cigars, and throughout the day, mostly at night, he would go outside to smoke. And one night, he saw a young boy walking past his house, and this kid just walked and moved very strangely. And as the weeks progressed, Jim started to see this kid more and more often walking slowly past his house. And for some reason this young boy really scared Jim. And Jim even stopped smoking outside as this kid freaked him out that much. Then one night, a couple of months later, Jim really wanted to go outside and have a smoke, and he convinced himself that there was nothing to be afraid of. And right after he opened the door, he saw the young boy standing perfectly still with no emotion, just staring right at him. and Jim saw that his eyes were solid black. Then the boy asked him, in a very unhuman-like tone, if he can come inside. Now Jim was scared out of his mind. He knew that there was something evil about this kid, and he ran back inside and locked all the doors and all the windows. And after this encounter, he has never seen this kid again. But these days, Jim spends more time looking out the window than smoking his cigars. One of the earliest known sightings of the black-eyed kids, or a black-eyed kid, within the United States happened in 1950 in Virginia. One day, a 16-year-old boy named Harold was walking home from school when he saw a boy about the same age as him. This boy was leaning against a fence as if he was waiting for someone. And since this was the 1950s, Harold decided to be polite, so he walked up to him to see if everything was okay. And when this young man looked at Harold, Harold saw that this kid had something wrong with his eyes that were just all black. And Harold got struck with fear. And before he could run away, the kid told him, "Do not run from me." It's as if he knew that Harold was about to start running. Then he asked Harold if he could go home with him. Now Harold was terrified beyond belief, and it wasn't just his eyes. There was also something else, something just not right about this person. And when Harold got the chance, he ran, and he ran as fast as he could. And while he was running, he heard this kid scream. And he later stated that it sounded very similar to a bobcat. And when Harold got home, he was in such a state of shock that his father grabbed his gun and went out looking for this kid. And his mother thought that her son Harold had just come face to face with the devil, and she took him to a priest. Now, one thing I would like to add is it seems that in most of these cases, these people who encounter the black-eyed kids are not just scared of their eyes. There's also something else that they just can't explain that also terrifies them. Now, since there are so many sightings of the black-eyed kids, some more credible than others, I'm going to make this into a series. And it will probably take me a lot of research and a lot of time to cover the best of them. And due to the fact that there are always more and more sightings being reported each and every month, I'm sure this series will be endless. And if you ever come face to face with a black-eyed kid, try to be polite, because it could just be a normal kid with a very rare eye condition. But if he or she asks you if they can come inside, then you know that it's a black-eyed kid, and you better run. Until next time, this is Paranormal Junkie. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.